Welcome to my weekly recap series where I recap the last week of anime I've watched. Today's goes from February 27, 2023 up to and including March 5th, 2023, so that's a Monday to Sunday. I have the list of anime I watched in the description below. As always, leave a like if you enjoy this, a dislike if you didn't, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment below any thoughts of your favorite episode. Let's get started with what I watched on Monday. We start with season 1, episode 8 of High Card Heat Up. We start with Finn having a flashback, and we learn that Finn has lost his memories after the death of his parents. We can see the important Lindsay, the head of the orphanage, has on Finn, and Finn tries to be the same role model for the kids currently at the orphanage. Lindsay has an inkling that Finn is up to some dangerous business, and just like that, we get some tension with Bobby Balls making his appearance once again. Bobby traumatizes some kid like it's his second job, luckily not marbling any of them. We then get some more flashbacks that some night burnt down Finn's home and that's how his parents died, but we don't get too much as of why or how. Now, how Finn takes those marbles to the chest when they can cut him and go through walls. Who knows, maybe the walls are really paper mache. Regardless, Finn gets a great hit on Bobby Balls, answering the age-old debate that yes, bringing a gun to a fight is better when you use that gun as your powered-up fist. Unfortunately, Bobby Balls goes wild using multiple cards and looking invincible, but the man gets sniped down from downtown. Overall, solid episode, animation was mediocre, but some good intrigue and insight into the main character. Up next on Monday is Season 2, Episode 8 of The Vampire Dies in No Time, Oh Nude. As we expect, there are some funny crash jokes, and this episode starts off with a huge bug going through town. This is a comedy anime, so whether it lands for you or not depends on your thoughts on lewd jokes overall. After the butt incident is cleared up, we get the second of 3 stories, and this one includes a vampire hunter, Honda, and his mother. His mother is going out with a vampire, and he tries to save her from Mr. Lewd Talk, showing their cute relationship. The third and final story is Dreadlock getting caught talking shit and threatens to be replaced by Mikazuki, who wants to learn from Ronaldo. Dreadlock gets jealous and sends vampires to try to take Mikazuki down, but he always has some countermeasure to the vampires, which is something absolutely ridiculous. Ronaldo ends saying you can't be a cool vampire hunter, which is very true. This is a decent episode overall. Not too much of deepening of characters or forwarding of a plot, but that's to be expected from a comedy. The second to last show on Monday is Reborn to Master the Blade from Hurricane to Extraordinary Squire, a reincarnation anime, not an isekai despite its super long name. In Season 1, Episode 8, the order to protect Ripple, we see Magicite beasts are invading and they must protect Ripple, who has a Hyromanus disease, causing her to collapse and summon these beasts. Theodore believes this is due to a faction of Highlanders that want to use Ripple's body to summon these beasts as a trump card against pro-surface Highlanders, since their whole superiority complex comes from living on a land that's slightly higher than the others. Ripple and Chris get into a sparring match that is interrupted after we see Ripple yank out mana, but only from special grade ruins, summoning these beasts against her will. We do finally see a gun artifact that out of all the guns, man has a blunderbuss, which is hilarious. Overall, meh episode, but we do get some plot moving forward, which is nice. Last but certainly not least on Monday is Vinland Saga. We have Season 2, Episode 8, An Empty Man. Thorfinn has another nightmare and he starts talking about how he is empty since all he had inside of him was hatred for so long and now that's gone. Grams comes with some fire advice saying it's good to be empty. That's how you want to be when starting a new life since now you can be filled with anything. Einir and Thorfinn walk back to see what wheat had been destroyed and believe the farmhands has something to do with this. Einir is enraged and goes to fight the farmhands, and although Thorfinn was opposed to it, he was the first one to throw a punch, which absolutely knocks the farmhand out, throwing hands like he's Mike Tyson in his prime. At the end, Thorfinn sees a vision of his father, which is interesting to see what encouragement comes from this vision. A slower episode as we are accustomed to for this season, but we get deeper insight into Thorfinn and his current state as why he's such a shell of a man, and now we have some real problems on the farm since slaves cannot put their hands on free people, and we also got Thorfinn finally throwing a punch and some action. Love to see it. Great episode. Starting off Tuesday, we have Campfire cooking another world of my absurd skills, Season 1, Episode 8. All the boss monsters are tasty. Hokkaido has taken too long to get a city and hasn't done a quest in a month and has been kicked out of the Adventurers Guild. He must reapply since the lowest rank must complete a quest every month, so he strives to go up in rank, so he only has to do a quest every 3 months, moving from rank G to F. Apparently the guild butchers are the best, which is why he wants to continue to be an adventurer to have people that can cut up the meat and valuables from the monster fell kills. The guild butcher gives him some selling tactic that guild butchers are the best since they care about the meat and valuables, which I'm not sure I buy, but Mokkaido does not question it. Mokkaido still doesn't understand or care about the value of things as he shared food with another group he helped free of charge, and that food is something most people wouldn't be able to eat their entire lives. So not only did he save them from bandits, he also shared incredibly expensive food with them. To rank up, they go goblin hunting since Fel and Sui are about that action despite Mokkaido not wanting to. There were so many they were able to do it in one day, although it was all Sui who defeated the goblins as he leveled up, evolving into a big slime. Overall, a nice episode. Sui's evolution was wild. There was some good cooking and action with Sui, but I hoped there would be more world building with getting to a new city. Imokaino's ignorance or kindness is nice, but he hasn't fully utilized the resources around him just yet. Up next is Negan Fushin Adventures Who Don't Believe in Humanity Will Save the World, Season 1, Episode 9, The Legend of the Labyrinth City Stepping Man. There's a legend of a stepping man that kidnaps children. Zem, Nick, and Bond all save a little girl from getting kidnapped, and then the girl tells them about her mom and how her mom tried to get the stepping man, and then they go to a bar to get more information. At the bar, they bet on themselves $50,000 since some people were disrespecting them to get the bounty, and they head out to capture the man that they suspect is kidnapping. During this, they find another priest who is super shady in a terrible part of town, but they go back to the bar to show everyone they succeeded and won the bet. At the end, Nick is suspicious of another adventurer they saw in the beginning, and it turns out she is indeed the stepping man, not the man that they found. Overall, the episode was mad, the background didn't look great, but overall not surprising. So rounding out our Tuesdays, the Ice Guy and his cool female colleague, Season 1, Episode 9, Lost Again in First Shrine Visit. Overall, a cute episode. They showed the mundane things of office life, such as a video call with the usual awkwardness you expect from colleagues. This then goes into a shrine visit, which is a common in anime, and we see Fuyutsuki and Himuro hold hands for the first time, so I guess that's some progress on the romance front. No conflict here, but we get deeper insight on Himuro and his relation with his sister and a deepening, even if ever so slightly, of his romance with Fuyutsuki. It doesn't feel like filler, but it is slow as I expect romance animes to be. Starting our Wednesday on a tragic note is Bungo Stray Dogs Season 4, Episode 9, A Dream of Butterflies. Yosano is recruited by the Port Mafia and she gives deeper insight as to why she doesn't want to join them. Mori and Yosano have a past in war where she was forced to be a medic on the front lines, and at first it seems nice and she is able to heal the soldiers, but as we see, this turns into a curse. Without the ability to die, they were unable to retreat from the front lines, so initially dubbed an angel, she was then given the title Angel of Death by one of the people she kept saving. This guy thought he could hold on and kept track of every time he was saved, but as we see, he was killed hundreds of times, causing the mind to break and him choosing death as an out. After that, Yasana's memory is hazy and she thinks she blew up the bunker, as we fast forward to 3 years later where Mori was looking for her again and wants to use her abilities. The detective agency gets her out of there and Rampo is so sweet saying, "My ability is the best, we don't need you, come join us since we want you not for your ability but for your kindness," showing why she will go to the no end for her comrades. An absolutely gut-wrench of an episode, and it gives great insight into multiple characters and really makes you feel for Yosano. Continuing the theme of tragedy, we have the magical revolution of the reincarnated princess and the genius young lady, Season 1, Episode 9, the sister and brother and for whom the crown is intended. We see Ann and Sophia as kids getting into trouble and then making up. We then transition to the present where they are still fighting, and as they fight, Ophelia is trying to save the vampire, but the maid ends up giving her some blood, so she's okay now. We see the reason Anisfia gave up the throne, and it was due to the incident as kids. Al almost dying, and there being rumors that Anisfia did it on purpose to try to kill Al, so she can have the throne all to herself. To make sure these rumors ceased, she gave up the throne so people wouldn't think that, but also ended up alienating Al in the process. Anisfia is ready to strike down her brother, attacking him with all she has, but Ophelia comes at the last second to prevent her from doing so. His reason for destroying the empire was if they couldn't accept who his sister was, then the society didn't deserve to exist. After losing to his sister, Al repents and accepts any punishment that is given. Al is sorry and makes up with Anisfia and apologizes to Ophelia again, who sends him off with a slap as he is sent to serve the kingdom. We see Anisfia is bedridden due to the power of dragon she was forced to use as she weeps a tear for her brother, Al. Ending Wednesday on a high note, we have Tomo-chan as a girl, Season 1, Episode 9, The Angel's True Face. Tomo gives Ko some words of encouragement as he joins Tomo's dad gym to get stronger. He then teases June to get him all jelly and ends up getting rocked. Carol is then also jealous after hearing Cole talk about Tomo, so she gets to spend some time with June, scaring him and feigning doing naughty things in his room. Cole then also gets nervous and jealous as Carol talks about hanging out with another boy, and then Carol and Misuzu end up talking, and Carol gets upset as Misuzu says that Cole doesn't like her at all, and Carol goes home crying. Tomo is understanding once they hear the full story to see what's happening as she is incredibly nice of a person and really trusts Misuzu. And we see Carol and Cole talking in their home. Cole says he loves her and sees her true face, which is prettier than how she's usually drawn. Cole then ends up talking to Carol's mom about Carol, taking the keep smiling to an extreme, but there's been a major change in Cole and Carol's relationship. An incredibly cute episode, and although it's about one person getting jealous and then another person getting jealous, it was nice to see. We start Thursday off with Avengers Season 1, Episode 9, Mutual Understanding. They manage to get Lou back to the doctor to prevent him from dying as they realize they are on the same side to stop the opium circulating. We see Lou's reasoning to stop the trade as people from his country, including his sister, are hooked on it. Apparently, the English said I must have traded, so they brought opium, but they lost a big amount using the port, which the lost amount has been the central guiding force of the show. The other revenge group, the Shalu, is told the main character's group has nothing to do with the church. The leader of the main group understood this when the church asked him to kill Lu, even with no bite mark on the gold coin, so when they refused, it was essentially declaring war on the church. The priest revenge group that was hired by Shishido puts the blame on the main revenge group that they destroyed the port, since the port and the Chinese that were there were under the protection of the trade union. Lu wants to go to the port and ends up dying as all the people he brought are dead, but as he dies, he bites a gold coin, allowing Raizo and his group to take revenge for him. Not sure why Lu just went there to die, but now there is revenge and the plot is almost fully shown, which it's a little complicated but interesting nonetheless. Continuing Thursday, we have the Iceblade Sorcerer Shall Rule the World Season 1, Episode 9, The Boy Who Became the World's Strongest Sorcerer releases the binds. We start with Amelia powering up from hearing Ray's voice, which is classic anime move. Amelia ends up winning since her power allows her to distort reality and she becomes the champion. The main bracket happens and Lucas destroys Rebecca in one move, and he is known as the Peerless Blade Sorcerer, one of the top 7 sorcerers of the world, and he knows about Ray's weakness. He wants to fight Ray at some point, but only until Ray gets over the overheating weakness. Carol does some interrogation as she is the spellbinding sorcerer, allowing her to control people, but it seems the enemy has rigged people to blow up if they snitch. Then Ray's class is deciding what to do for the festival, and they try to float the idea of a maid cafe, which has some blowback since highborn people will not want to dress up as maids. We end up with Rebecca apparently being engaged, which is sus. An okay episode for an okay show, or more plot moving forward, which is nice. Next up is ONIMAI, I'm Now Your Sister, Season 1, Episode 9, Mahiro Rings in the New Year. Mihari has a date and Mahiro goes to spy, but it turns to just to be Al Kaede. Mahiro brought Miyu along since he can't go alone and they decide to follow them and end up shopping together. They then get caught by the pair they were stalking, and then they all go visit a shrine together where they meet up with Mahiro's classmates accidentally. Then they go back to the house to chill and eat, where Mihari gets drunk and ends up kissing Kaede, and things just get weird. A low-key episode for an interesting show. We end Thursday with Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon Season 4, Episode 20, Aesta Family, Heroic Death. Starts with showing us what happened to the Aesta family and how Ryu's life changed forever when the entire family got wiped out, causing her to swear revenge on the Rudra family, who she blames for this happening. Since she wasn't following justice, she was excommunicated by her goddess as she did everything she could think of to destroy the Rudra family. Ambushes, sneaking in, you name it, and she did it. This episode mostly focuses on the revenge aspect, but at the end, Bella is simply saying, hey, you saved me countless times and that's what matters. To Bella, it doesn't matter if you deserve it or not, he's gonna save you with a smile, which is why so many people gather around him. A tragic episode of a terrible past, but gives greater insight as to what happened to the Esta family and what set this season into motion. We see Bella in the water at the end as we wait to see what happens next. We start the weekend with Sugar Apple Fairy Tale Season 1, Episode 9, The Radcliffe Workshop, and runs into Kat and Benjamin again after a year, which is good news for her because the sugar apple crop isn't doing well, which means no one is allowed to harvest. Although late, Anne works at the Radcliffe Workshops, one of the only places that is actually able to harvest these sugar apples. And then there we get the classic sexist scene where this guy Sammy tries to stop Anne from entering the workshop, and a classic knight in shining armor comes to help Anne named Keith. We found out that Keith has actually met Anne's mother in the past and was inspired by her, and it seems this might be the only year for her to become a silver sugar master since the harvest will continue to get worse. Keith wanted a good opponent to go up against, so he's glad that Anne arrived. Overall, a little slow as most of the season, and Anne can be quite annoying, but a fine episode nonetheless. To the farming life in another world, season 1, episode 9, The Merchant and the Dragon. We start with slime that multiply, creating lots of different kinds of slimes, and now the village wants seafood, so they go to a merchant of a city that is able to trade seafood. We then get a recap of them meeting the merchant, and he weighs the risks and reward of trading, but as with everything in life, the profits cannot be stopped. Then they play strip mahjong for some reason, and the mayor loses somehow, although everyone else just learned how to play. That's just a scrub loader right there. At some point, they get more people and now have a teacher in the city. We see at the end a group of girls flee their homes since the dog in the village and the young folks of the village cleared out their homes. So now the Lamia girls trade to the village to ensure that they can be at peace. A relaxing episode overall where trade is expanding and not too much going out, but decent building out the world. Finally, Randy on Friday is an hour-long awaited special of Attack on Titan Final Season Special Episode 1 or Season 4 Episode 88. Here, Eren is acting as a hypocrite by saving the kid's life, knowing that he was going to kill them regardless, so it doesn't matter. But we see the remorse on his face that although he knows he's going to do it, he doesn't enjoy the mass murder he's about to inflict. Marley is pretty much destroyed due to the rumbling, and Annie says she's not fighting, but everyone else goes out to fight. And out of nowhere, Flosh comes out and stalls the group, causing Hange to go out and sacrifice herself to slow down the Titans enough, allowing the rest of the group to go fight Eren. Hange goes out in a literal blaze of glory, so what a wonderful death that she's excited for it. They start planning to take down Eren, noticing the power of the Titan hasn't changed, and Eren talks to them saying that they will clash and there is nothing to discuss. As he is free to do what he wants to do, they are free to do what they want to do, and he will not stop them or limit their power. Ragnar empathizes with him, saying Eren wants them to stop him. Eldians make their way to the fort that Eren is about to destroy in order to escape, but as they try to escape, they see the airships leaving in one last ditch effort to beat Eren, but they fail, and at the same time, Armin and the others show up ready to fight Eren, as is gonna start this exciting season of Attack on Titan. Starting Saturday off, we have My Hero Academia Season 6, Episode 22, the 135th episode, Friend. In this episode, we see Midori going absolutely off the chain. All for One copies All Might saying, "Next, it's your turn," giving these words a whole new meaning. Where All Might can be seen more inspirational in the sense of it's your turn to protect the people and become the best hero. For One is like it's your turn to be chased down and be some of my power, so shoulder this burden. We see even more heroes dropping out since they couldn't handle it and aren't actually the heroes they thought they were. Midoriya full on blows away All Might, trying not to bring him into this, but it's a little too late for that, and at the corner of our eyes, we see a familiar person. The past incarnations try to stop him, knowing that he's pushing himself too much and that this isn't good and the man needs rest, but he's always got that juice in him. Midoriya comes face to face to an escaped prisoner, but he seems tired, and out of nowhere comes Bakugo helping the boy out. Since he's tired, but Midoriya doesn't want the help. All of Class A is like, "That's my boy, we're helping him out, so where is he?" Seems like Deku got some good friends around helping him, and Bakugo even has some fire lines saying, "Hey, look at yourself, can you even smile right now?" Bakugo, I give it up, he's changed a lot. Continuing with Saturday's bangers is BlueLock. We see the number one striker, Rein, put everyone on the field in a position where he can control the players as puppets, reading Nage like a book. As Rein believes he has everything under control and can read every player, the enigma that is Baro comes out of nowhere, destroying Rein's vision of the field. Since people usually don't try to steal from their teammates, as Baro devours Nagi, getting himself a goal, Rein starts to react to Baro since he can't fully read his movements. As Nagi is still getting a better understanding of who he needs to be in order to win the game, he's still a step behind Rin, who is using the least exhausted player on the field, Tokimitsu, to trek upfield, causing Chigari and Baro to get yellow cards trying to stop him. As Nagi tries to read Rin on a free kick, Rin puts the ball right over Nagi's head in a sweet goal, saying that there was only right answer and that is Rin's goal and that's it. At the end, we see Bachira waking up his own ego instead of relying on others' monsters. A great episode, we see Nagi has improved as a player, and it's exciting to see what Bachira would do since he's known as a great dribbler. Combine that with some ego, sheesh, this is gonna be fire. On to another sports anime, we have Yowamushi Peta Limit Break Season 5, Episode 21, Switches and Humming. We start with Korado reminiscing about Manami taking his spot for the last year into high and how salty he was. Then his world comes crashing down as the team loses, something he never thought could or would happen. This year, they go extra hard on training, attending races they would have otherwise skipped. In one such race, we see Kurado come face to face with someone from his past as a grudge and knocks him into some oncoming railing. Knowing his team could win, Kurado thinks about staying down, but what you don't see is the absolute dog that he has in him. He gets up, adjusts his handlebars, and speeds past those that left him behind. After that, we see him send Manami off, who is in a battle with Onada as they go back and forth passing each other. Onada has his Princess Pancake song, and Minima has his wings as we go towards who will win. A very good episode for this show and a backstory that was interesting. It's great to see that Hime song come back, and so this was some good deepening of a side character. Coming out of sports anime, we have Chilling in My 30s, Season 1, Episode 9, Daddies has a reunion, and what a reunion it is. This was a jam-packed episode. The strongest hero in history shows up, and he's well beloved by the village, but Daddies has another view of him since he's seen him in battle. He then asked the demons of Giannis to leave without magic since the hero can sense magical energy, and guess what she didn't do? Exactly that. The hero comes to train his apprentice who's been staying at the village, and as the old hero destroys his apprentice in the training, Daddiel almost gets roped into a fight, but is able to bring out the great equalizer that is food to avoid the fight. Zebi then starts to leave the village, but uses magic, and the hero finds her and says, "Well, you're demon, so come get this work." And Daddiel goes to protect her as they have a fight. Though the hero wants Daddiel to become the hero, but he refuses since he has a demon upbringing and refuses to fight demons. Then the hero finds out that Daddiel is his long-lost son, who has been lost for over 33 years. Overall, a pretty good episode. I enjoyed learning about the hero and his past, and seeing that Daddiel is his son was crazy, out of nowhere twist I didn't see coming. So I can't wait to see what happens next. Next up is Season 1, Episode 6, Lone Wolf of Nier Automata, version 1.1a. Lily has some strange dreams of something going wrong, and 2B is there. Little did we know that Lily actually worked with the previous generation of Yordha, and we have a 2B lookalike in there. the resistance back then, and the Yodha came to an alliance where Yodha had no backup, but there were just four of them, and there was a server controlling machine life form that they wanted to destroy. In this process, Lily got infected with enemy logic virus that would overwrite any data taking over her body, but the Yodha were able to help her in the reprogramming. As they moved towards their destination, the team got whittled down little by little until it was only Lily left, who managed to escape by herself. But little do we know after that someone from the expedition probably survived, as we see in the ending credit. Overall, a decent episode on Lily and the Resistance's past. Coming back to romance, we have The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten, Going Out with the Angel, Season 1, Episode 9. This starts with Mahiri teaching Chisote how to cook, and Amina ends up sleeping, which he should have been the one learning how to cook, but I digress. He wakes up to some good food and eats, and then after that, the angel and Amina go out to a cat cafe and shopping. There's some super blatant flirting, but at the end, Kadawaki ends up seeing them, and Amina tells him everything about his friendship with the angel and her scene. Overall, meh episode, but as slow as I would expect, no deepening understanding of the characters, but one could argue the main characters are already dating. Next up is Trigun Stampede, Season 1, Episode 9, Million Knives. We see plans similar to the one that Bash interacted with before being used beyond their limits, resulting in a final run. After finding out that they are being used for a final run, Knives ends up killing the people responsible for putting the plans through this. Ludia comes to bring Vash back to the ship, and the Knives tries to kill her, so Vash ends up creating a gate in response, but not on purpose. Knives promises to build the welfare plans, but Vash doesn't agree, saying that humans are needed. We see the Red Demaro being transported to another ship somewhere else, where it is revealed that humans messed up Earth and sent colony ships to this new planet. And then it ends with the dilemma of who benefits the more, plants or humans. And if Earth has taught us anything, it's probably not humans. Up next, we have Saving 80,000 Gold and Another One from Our Retirement, Season 1, Episode 9, Tales from Paradise Restaurant. Mituha ends up helping them by getting the apprentice to learn how to cook, and as well as the daughter, and then teaching them some newly found recipes that no one else knows in order to bring in business and starting rumors. This eventually gets the nobles to come through, and the person that wanted the business to from the beginning ends up shooting himself in the foot by bringing in an expert that ends up actually joining as a cook because they wanted to learn more. At the end, we see goblins for the first time, and overall, this was an okay episode. Next, we have Welcome to Demon School Edamakan Season 3, Episode 21, Words for My Friends. We start with a flashback with Bachiko, Edama's mentor, talking to his grandpa and how Bachiko is infatuated with the grandpa, and then the grandpa tells Bachiko that Edama is a human, and that's fine with her because she's just like, that's the only mentor for me. Edama ends up wrestling with the decision to tell his friends whether he's human or not, but Alice's mom ends up talking to him and saying, hey, demons are pretty free, you should live freely, and you don't need to tell them everything, which is an incredibly cute moment. Next, we have Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro, Season 2, Episode 10, Hachijo Senpai Taught Me a Lot. Senpai doesn't know what to paint, and he wants to paint Nagatoro. Nagatoro comes in and puts on a swimsuit in order to get painted, and then she gets a little tired, so she gets a massage from him, and in that moment, the president's cousin comes in. Nagatoro gets jealous of the president's cousin since Senpai taught her some things, and Nagatoro ends up joining the judo club and has to leave Senpai. After that, the president's cousin and Senpai talk about how he misses Nagatoro, and the only solution there is to ask her out on a date. Next up, we have Tokyo Revengers. In this episode, Mikey shows up, and Mikey talks about his dead bro and Baji, and then Mikey seems to get his ass knocked the fuck out. After that, we have a flashback to Inui of Black Dragon, where Inui thought he could take on Taiju, but he gets knocked out, and then Mikey destroys Taiju with one kick and named swiftly. After that, Takemichi takes a nap since he's done everything he absolutely can, and then we see in the final credits Mikey taking Takemichi to see Hina at the end, where we will hope for a wonderful reunion. Starting off Sunday, we have 2 Year Eternity, where we finally get some wins. Fushi becomes Bon, and Bon is able to see the dead, so it gives Fushi the power to not need to have been there for the person's death or anything. Instead, they can just remember him and then recreate them, allowing them to live once again, which repopulates the city. At that point, the knockers see, okay, the population isn't going down, it's staying the same, even going up, and now Fushi is able to expand his range even further, so he ends up winning the war, or starts winning the war against the knockers. The knockers try to get their best against Fushi, but they obviously weren't strong enough to do anything. Haku ends up taking the knocker back into his left arm and ends up leaving, and Fushi doesn't end up killing him, just leaving him alone so that they can one day meet again. Up next, we have Boruto. This really centers around Kawaki, where Kawaki wants to sneak out because he doesn't want Code to come kill Naruto since he really loves Naruto, but Boruto is able to detect his presence, even though Kawaki figures out how to make his chakra pretty much nil, using a shadow coin in his place. Boruto goes out to save Kawaki as Kawaki fights Code, and Code is absolutely demolishing Kawaki, but Boruto comes in at the end saying he will protect them. We find out later that Code is going to do the whole chakra fruit thing, making it the end result as the Tatsuki. Next up, we have Season 1, Episode 9 of The Tale of Outcast, Bullfight. In this episode, Takanami is possessed and Marvis leaves since he doesn't have the power to fight the captain and Takanami, Wisteria finds Holmes finally, and he tells Marvelous where the perpetrators are. Marvelous goes to fight them, but he ends up losing a horn, which is central to a demon's power, and he ends up being have to save by Nabarus. They also find out that Wisteria's brother can never be returned, leaving a sour taste in Marvelous' mouth since he really wants Wisteria to be happy. Last but certainly not least is Handyman Saito in Another World, Season 1, Episode 9, Sad Dog Warrior. This is 2 stories back to back, a dog warrior and Morlock's coming back. Pretty much Morlock passed away, but he ends up being resurrected by himself, but he can't fully grow back because a dog ate his dick. And then we see a dog warrior fall in love with another dog, but that dog ends up dying, but they have a child together, and then they escape to the human world to try to live together, the dog and the child, but the dog has some spell on him because the demon that owns the dog wants them back, and the poor dog that we are following actually ends up eating Morlock's dick, and then we see at the end Morlock and Saito versus the dog. But before we can see the fight happen, we see Uraizo's past and how her parents died, but also how she actually grew up with the child of the dog they're now facing. The timeline gets a little weird, but overall, pretty good episode. This is Anime Disrobed, and I will consider this entire week disrobed. Thank you for sticking by. If you watched the entire thing, let me know what your favorite anime is, what's your favorite moment been of the past week, and I hope to see you all next week. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed, or dislike if you did enjoy, and let me know what I could be doing better. Have a good one.